dark, dark tomb there was a dark, dark street, and in the dark, dark street there was a dark, dark office. In the dark, dark office there were some dark, dark stairs, and down the dark, dark stairs there was a dark, dark room, and in the dark, dark room was where the worst wrestling tropes go to die.
Hello everybody, Ross Tweddell, that's wrestling in the form of the latest instalment of Straight to Hell, the show of course where my illustrious guest offers up lists their pet peeves from the world of professional wrestling. Then they'll get sent down straight to hell to rot for the rest of eternity. Joining us today is Mark Goldbridge off of the football YouTube. I know, I can't believe it either. Enough of me rambling, over to Ross and Mark. Thank you, Mark. Hopefully you don't think I'm a prat. So Mr. Goldbridge, thank you very much for joining us today. How the hell are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Nice. I mean, wrestling's was a big part of my life for a long time. So I'm very interested to do this when you ask me, because I've got to do a WrestleMania watch along in a few weeks, and I haven't watched wrestling for a long time. So, but yeah, I do like it. I do really enjoy it.
You know, I've watched you on YouTube for a while now, and I couldn't believe the word WrestleMania came out your mouth. So as soon as I heard the word WrestleMania on one of your recent Newcastle streams, I was like, right, let's try and get in contact with Goldbridge and make this happen, because it's going to be fantastic. This, I know it is.
Well, it's funny actually, because with lockdown, I've been watching a lot of Royal Rumbles. Yeah. I didn't watch the Royal Rumble this year, but I've been watching a lot of them on YouTube, because they've got them all there from the 90s, and it's great because I've forgotten who wins it, so I won't check on Google, and you just watch it. It's fantastic.
That is the one for any sort of casual wrestling fan. A Royal Rumble is always a good place to start. But let's forget about wrestling for a second. Let's talk about Newcastle United, because I'm a Newcastle United fan. I'm from Newcastle. What did we ever do to you to make you sign Phil Jones? That's what I need to know.
You know what? I sort of misread that career mode, because I've done a few career modes, mainly as Manchester United, because that's my club. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to be Newcastle. I'm going to make them good, because no one seems to be able to do that. And I'm going to do it with Phil Jones. And then immediately I was like, there's a reason Newcastle struggle, and you can't put Phil Jones in there and expect them still to be good. So second season, he's gone. I need to get some decent players in.
I'm telling you, set your own bar high, because I'm doing one over at twitch.tv/Cultaholic, cheap plug. First summer, I went in for Ansu Fati from Barcelona, put in a speculative 20 million bid. Got him. Sky's the limit with Newcastle, I'm telling you. It's just Mike Ashley in real life, keeping things down.
Definitely, yeah.
So right then, so let's go back to professional. I just had to get that out there, because the Phil Jones signing bothered me. Oh, I was shaking my fist at home, so I was. But professional wrestling in you, where does it start and where does it end?
It started for me a long time ago, probably just when I was like in secondary school, just starting, and there was a lot of like-minded lads. I mean, it was still it was really popular, obviously in America in those days, but I think it was just starting to hit in the UK, because I mean, I remember us first getting Sky TV put in, and that would obviously opened up the world to wrestling. And yeah, there was a few of us that were really into it. I mean, I sort of remember the late 80s, very young, and people would be talking about Hulk Hogan and people like that. But it started for me in the early 90s with people like The Undertaker when he was first coming through, and the British Bulldog, Legion of Doom, and yeah, all that. And then I stuck with it probably until my girlfriend wouldn't let me stick with it anymore of the time. So yeah, or I found sort of going out and, you know, not having time to watch Rory's War and all that stuff. But yeah, I really did enjoy it for a long time.
Everyone hits that period of time where it's not cool to watch anymore, and you have to go out and have a social life. And when people ask you about, well, when you bring up wrestling in a social group, you're just looked at in a very different way. Do you ever find that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't bring it up much now because I don't watch it. But I don't know what it's like now. I've got to do a bit of research for WrestleMania, and this is, you know, part of that research really. But I'm interested to see how easy it is to fall back into, or whether it's changed a lot and moved on.
So I'll try and speak about today's wrestling, try and fit this on for size. Are you aware of Bray Wyatt?
No.
Right, so Bray Wyatt used to be the spooky cult leader, right, from the forests and stuff like Louisiana and stuff like that, I think, that sort of stuff. He's gone away for a while, right, and he's come back as a spooky murder clown called The Fiend. He's got this horrible mask and stuff. And then in December, I recommend you watch this one, he was set on fire by Randy Orton. I presume you know Randy Orton.
Yeah, I did see this on Twitter as well, and I know who Randy Orton is. Yeah, so I heard about this. Yeah,
he was murdered in the ring by being set on fire. Right, he's gone away. Right, but the essence of the Fiend who was murdered, set on fire in the middle of the ring, that now lives within Randy Orton and within a female superstar called Alexa Bliss. and the Fiend can sort of make himself known in their two like sort of mortal vessels, Mark. This is very cool stuff, I know, by producing black liquid out of their mouth. That's how you know when the Fiend is sort of taking control of their being. So he came back at the most recent pay-per-view. He rose out the bottom of the ring, signifying he's coming back from the depths of hell, and he sort of attacked Randy Orton, but he's now all burnt and stuff. So that's one of the big matches heading into WrestleMania, is this reborn, murdered, flamey man taking on Randy Orton. How does that sound for you?
To be honest, you know what? I mean, it sounds pretty good, because it just automatically pulls me back into what I was doing in the 90s, where, you know, the Ultimate Warrior was being buried in a casket. And it sounds outlandish, but this is the world of wrestling. And if you're in that world, it's totally part of your day, isn't it? I mean,
it is, yeah.
Yeah. So as somebody who was in that world, I don't listen to it and go, oh my God, that's a load of rubbish. But yeah, I imagine some people do go, that's a load of rubbish.
It's quite, yeah, it is. Even I love professional wrestling. Some of that stuff is complete rubbish. But famously, I need to ask you, just in terms of presenting on YouTube as well, this is going everywhere before we get going with the Straight to Hell portion of the show. Famously, you don't have a sheet of paper in front of you when you present a YouTube video. I just need to know the sort of mental process that goes on before you sit down in front of a camera, because I've been doing this bollocks for 5 years now, and I couldn't be as fluid and just go for 10 to 15 minutes like you do without a sheet of paper in front of me. How does that work?
Well, I mean, I do have a book in front of me, and I've just done a show there, but literally, if you looked at it, it's just code, because it's like I've got 5 points. It's got Haaland, Billionaire, Kunde, Lingard, and Bay talks, and that's it. And that will constitute a 45-minute show, because I've tried it in the past, but I just don't like to be too in depth in my notes, because I find it very difficult to grab those notes whilst I'm in a show, because it slows me down. And I just found that for me, it works better to have bullet points that I just go. I mean, sometimes I won't have anything. It'll just be a headline, and I think, well, that's going to take me 45 minutes to talk a load of crap about. But most of the time, it's just. And because a lot of our content's live, if you use your live comments properly, you'll get a lot of content from that as well. And to be honest, you know, there might be some connection between wrestling and what I do now, because there is that sort of, it's real, but there is a bit of, you know, pantomime going on, because I purposely will focus on the bad comments. And in the early days, I'd get into an argument with the bad comments. And then I'd see a good comment and sort of, you know, redeem myself to the people. You know, the audience never knew what to expect with me. They'd agree with some things and then not with the other. Whereas now I don't read those comments out, but I still allow them to bother me, to get me, you know, pumped up about something and express myself. So yeah, I find it as it's probably a very different approach to some people take, and some people probably would struggle doing it that way, because you're on the seat of your pants. But I find that gets the best out of me doing that way.
You'd be a fantastic professional wrestler, learning now that you've got bullet points in front of you. The old wrestling promos, before they were scripted down to every single word, used to be bullet points, and then the wrestlers were just left to sort of hit the bullet points in their own style. So you're fully set for a professional wrestling run now.
Well, I mean, one of the things I found most fascinating, I was reading about it again a few months ago, was the Bret the Hitman Hart thing with when he was leaving, and they changed the story in. Well, he didn't know, did he? Was it
the screw job, the Montreal screw job?
So yeah, it's fascinating that, because it just didn't. He actually got put in a move he couldn't get out of, could he? And he lost the game. So, you know.
Yeah, Vince McMahon rang the bell when, even though he didn't tap out, he just took the title away from him, because he was scared that Bret was going to take the title to the other company and just sort of bury his title. So he just took the title off him before he could get there. There's all sorts of, that's the most fascinating stuff about wrestling. It's the stuff that happens behind the scenes and outside the ring. Never mind the stuff that happens inside the ring.
It is. I mean, look, you know, as much as people, you know, maybe turn their nose up at it a bit, but there is some very interesting dynamics behind it, and some tragedies behind it as well. Like it's a massive industry, isn't it? But there's some really interesting stories behind it.
Has the stuff fully died down with DT?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we had to have a fight now, we'd probably have to do it in a wrestling ring rather than a boxing ring, because it probably would have to be a bit choreographed, especially at our age. Sorry, yeah.
Because I saw he challenged you to was it a one-on-one football match, but inside of a cage? Is that what he challenged you to way back in the day?
Yeah, he sort of backtracked on that and said that that's because these cages exist to play a game of football. And I was like, to me, it sounds like you just want to be in a cage. I mean, we're going to get like baseball bats with barbed wire around them or something. But no, I mean, look, to be fair, you know, I don't really have a bad thing to say about him anymore, because it's like, you know, I do believe in giving people second chances, and you know, he's probably had more than a couple, but yeah, there's no bad feelings there anymore.
Because there's YouTube, let's just take this back a few years to when there was bad blood. Let's forget about the one-on-one football. What wrestling stipulation would you put DT in against yourself where you'd fancy your chances? I fancy my chances anyway, to be honest. I'm just not particularly into the whole charity box. I'm just not into the whole YouTube boxing thing. I think that there's enough violence on people's screens without, you know, being a football creator and having a boxing match with another one. But if we were doing a wrestling game, I would quite like. I always quite. This would take this one if I get the people right. I think it was Ric Flair, and I can't remember who it was against because I wanted them to win. It might have been Ultimate Warrior against Ric Flair, but it was basically if you lost, you had to retire. Right.
And Ric Flair lost. Not Ric Flair, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Right. Yes. Because he was too old for Vince McMahon back in the day. Whereas these days, he'd be on par with the rest of the roster. It's weird how wrestling has changed. So who were your guys back in the 90s before we get going with the straight to hell portion of the show?
I really liked Ultimate Warrior, obviously Hulk Hogan. I was more into the tag teams, to be fair. But yeah, individuals. I mean, like British Bulldog, Bret the Hitman Hart. And I ended up in the latter ages of the 90s. I really liked Shawn Michaels was my favourite. I loved Shawn Michaels. The Rock, obviously. And people always say this. I never, ever was a big fan of Stone Cold. And people are, you can't be a wrestling fan. I was like, no, you know, like when you just don't take to somebody. I just found him really abrasive and rude, which I know was the attraction, but I just never liked Stone Cold. Maybe because he was bold. I don't know what it was, but I just never took to Stone Cold.
Do you not live vicariously through him beating up the boss? You know, the things we wish we could do.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
Maybe it's just you know, maybe if I'd have been a bit older, I would have really championed him because but being in my sort of, I wouldn't have been working then. I think it was either college or maybe still at school. I can't remember, but I never really took to Stone Cold.
Interesting stuff. So let's get going with the straight to hell portion of the show. This is, of course, where you're going to send 5 tropes from your youth of watching professional wrestling straight down to hell just because you hate them that much. What is your first offering, please?
Well, this is an old school thing, and I don't know whether it happens now, so I'll be in your hands here. But one of the things I used to hate about wrestling was that they used to have shows like I can't remember what channel they used to be on. There was loads of different shows you could watch, but it was all WWF, and apart from the main events, of which there's loads, and that's probably a trope now for me anyway, unless it was WrestleMania or a big event, you didn't really get many head-to-heads between well-known wrestlers. So you'd get like The Undertaker fighting Billy Bob, you know, and he'd just run in, he had no music, and that would be a lot of the shows, unless it was, you know, the main event. So that used to really wind me up because you know, it was basically just an appearance for whoever it was, and it could be somebody you liked, like Ultimate Warrior or whatever. Basically, just like what do they call them? Just scapegoats, really. They were never. They'd start off a bit like doing quite well, but they'd ultimately they were just there to get beat, and I hated that. And I don't know whether it's different now because they've got bigger rosters.
Yeah, it is a bit different now. You're speaking about squash matches there, where you'd have the jobber, which is the unknown guy, taking on the known name. The known name would then do their bollocks inside the ring, all their catchphrases and all their signature moves and whatnot, and then everyone would go home happy because they saw those things happen. They don't happen as much today. Always like sort of, you do get it on the odd occasion, but on TV now it's always competitive matches. Kind of, in a way, because they're all known names, not just jobbers from like that sort of sense from the early 90s. So I guess things have changed a lot, and what you're speaking about here is quite rare now in professional wrestling. So I guess you're happy now.
Yeah,
come back in and just watch every week.
Yeah. No, that's a good positive for me then. So that's good. Yeah, definitely.
Do you have to, building momentum is a big thing that wrestling commentators like to put in abbreviated commas and big up. Do you think that's a worthwhile thing, having these known names build momentum against these nobodies? Is that nothing that'll tickle your pickle from a tactical standpoint of heading towards a big match? I'm trying to make things sound too clever than they actually are here.
I mean, yeah, I understand that. I mean, you get it in boxing a lot, but I just think in wrestling, you know, for me, there's a difference between boxing and wrestling. I think you want to see, you know, in those days, I want to see the Legion of Doom fighting the Rockers in a tag team match. I don't want to see the Legion of Doom fighting 2 nobodies who, and also I felt sorry for the nobodies because they've still got to put the work in, haven't they? They've probably got to some of them have got to be technically better than the names really to get thrown around and everything. So, yeah, I think that's a change for the better then in modern wrestling for me.
And do you not get anything from just seeing these no names just thrown around and made to look like just utterly decimated at the hands of these no names? Because I sometimes get a kick out of seeing just someone thrown a very long distance.
No, I didn't. I was thinking about it this morning. I just really didn't enjoy that aspect of it. I prefer the competitive. It's a bit like Man United playing Rochdale, although Rochdale probably give us a game these days. But you want to see Man United playing Liverpool.
The magic of the cup, but in squash matches. There we have it then. Squash matches have gone straight to hell. What's your second offering, please?
The second one is, and I think you mentioned this in an email to me when we were sorting this out about, my thoughts on that whole Rooney thing. I mean, I do remember that, but it's not really my era. But, I do remember the whole Mike Tyson thing with Stone Cold and all that lot. And I think Mayweather's done it, hasn't he? And other people have done it. I'm not actually a big fan of that. It might be controversial, but when they bring these outsiders in, these celebrities in, I think with wrestling, we all know deep down what wrestling is. But when they bring these people in, it makes it too obvious that it's, scripted, etc. So I'm not actually a big fan of that. I mean, I would rather Mike Tyson throw a punch and he gets absolutely battered by The Rock or something like that. I don't want to, because they only come in for get the money, and then obviously they end up doing something that makes them look good. That's the only reason they do it in the first place. So I don't think that does wrestling any favors. So I'd bin off these celebrities that come in and have a go.
I'll tell you what, times have changed since way back in the day, because now they're bringing in celebrities and then actually put them through training. You've got, I don't know if you've heard of Bad Bunny. He won a Grammy recently. He's going to be in WrestleMania. He's apparently been doing lots of training. Pat McAfee, who is an American footballer, he had a couple of matches and he looked like an actual wrestler. So things have sort of changed from people like Wayne Rooney just coming in and going like that to Bad News Barrett's face, which was quite embarrassing. But it's getting better. There's a new standard being set for celebrity cameos in wrestling.
That's good. That's good to hear. So another one then that's improved. Maybe they found my list from 20 years ago.
Who do you want to see from the football world get involved? So let's say, because there's a big thing at the moment, because I don't know if you heard of Drew McIntyre. He's from Scotland, so there's a big push, within British wrestling fans, for trying to get a WrestleMania or a big pay-per-view over here. So that's in turn got people speaking about potential sports people from over here getting involved in wrestling. Who would you like to see in the world of sport today have a go at the wrestling?
I don't think I'd like to see a footballer in it. I really don't. Even though that's my sport, I just don't think I'd like to see a footballer in it. I mean, for an absolute laugh, I think Peter Crouch would be hilarious. But no, I think you know what? I think somebody like a Conor McGregor would be good, because he's got the skill set to do that and could probably train up and be good at it. I think credibility is always a big thing for me in wrestling, because you're always struggling with that in your head anyway when they're doing these stories and everything, and you're almost always looking out for is how well it's choreographed and everything. So I think somebody who's just convincing, and I think Conor McGregor's got that whole personality anyway. But yeah, I mean, Conor McGregor's a fighter anyway, but yeah, I think someone like that would be good. Someone who's got not only the personality but the skill set to actually be very convincing at it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just taken Ric Flair's gimmick and made it his own. He is the nature boy today, Conor McGregor.
Exactly.
There is talks now and again that just on Twitter and social media and whatnot, the rumours that Conor McGregor is going to do the wrestling soon. So it seems inevitable, but we'll have to wait and see. Who is your favourite sort of celebrity cameo that you know of from wrestling times?
I mean, I'm trying to think back.
You ever see Vinnie Jones? That was a funny one.
No, I mean, I'm not surprised he's done one. I didn't see that one. I'm trying to think. You know what? Off the top of my head, I can't think. I'd probably say Mike Tyson was, when that D-Generation X thing, because that's the one that sort of stands out. But the only problem with that is you just knew it was only going to end up with Mike Tyson looking good.
Yeah, which he did at the end of WrestleMania, sparking out Shawn Michaels. That's what we're all here to see. So there we have it. Celebrity cameos have gone down to hell. Your third offering, please, Mark.
I think I'm gonna, and again, this might not be something that happens as much, but I think. When I used to watch a lot, kickouts, too many kickouts. It was just you knew they were going to kick out a lot, and it was like, it was almost, you can have. I mean, a kickout's good. I think they are good, but when you're getting so many of them, it becomes a little bit repetitive, and I think it became predictable that you knew they were going to kick out a few times. You know, you knew they were never going to get pinned, and sometimes it would have just been a surprise that they did get pinned or something like that. So again, I don't know whether that's changed as much, but when I used to watch it, they used to get quite a lot of kickouts. They'd literally 1, 2, you know, and they do it again and again and again.
I tell you what, if you ever want to psych yourself up for a big day in the gym or something like that, and just with this this topic in mind, search out an Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano match, because you think kickouts were bad in the 90s. It's a whole different level now. There's at least 25 to 30 per match, and they're more ridiculous each and every time they happen. And Adam Cole versus Gargano, they do them more than anybody. And I don't mind them so much, but sometimes they do take you out the moment because you're thinking, oh, it's just not going to end here, but they're doing it for kick-out's sake, I guess.
Well, I was watching one the other week. I think it was Hulk Hogan against Ultimate Warrior, and I was like, I can't remember these two ever fighting, because they were like my two icons when I was a kid, and they did, and Ultimate Warrior beat him, and he beat him on a pin, and I was like, wow, you know, I can't really remember, unless they've been hit over the head with a chair or an urn from the Undertaker. They don't normally get pinned, and that, you know, I think they're missing a trick there, because it's surprising, but it's also, well, they've been technically beaten there, and I think that adds something to it.
Yeah, to just get more weapons involved, then make it a bit more devastating to get to the pinfall. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
There we have it then. All the pinfalls, they can go down to hell as well. So Mark, your fourth offering, please.
Yeah, it's on a similar theme to this, and got me thinking about that. And again, I don't know whether it's happening as much, but it was the whole, you know, I've envisaged them in the corner, and it's this like slap across the chest.
The chop.
And they're looking at the crowd, and it's like, and I'm just like, you know what? Look at the size of you. You're never going to slap each other. And surely you could spend a little bit more time on something a little bit more convincing that's actually going to genuinely hurt you. And I just was like, I remember this as a kid, and it just used to, even then I'd be like, yeah, this ain't doing a lot for me, really. And again, a lot, I know you've got the crowd, and it's you know, I've never ever watched a wrestling game in a crowd. It's always been on the telly. So, you know, they're not probably playing to me, they're playing to the crowd, aren't they? But it's, yeah, I think that that sort of thing is just a little bit shallow, shall we say, in relation to the size of the people. And maybe they could think of doing something else that's just not so, it's basically just a slap across the chest.
Oh, you say just a slap across the chest. At my old job, I took a proper professional wrestling chop from a pro wrestler called Joe Hendry, a massive fella, and my God, it takes it out of you. And it's all about the psychology of wrestling, Mark. They try to break down their opponent bit by bit by bit. So a big slap to the tits, that's a part of the process of breaking down the wrestler. I tell you, you never had someone chop you before?
No, you see, it's a whole new world now. Maybe I'm mocking something that actually really does hurt, but yeah, I mean, I think I don't know. I think wrestling hopefully has changed. I imagine that that's something that's changed a lot over the last 30 years in relation. It's the same with football, isn't it? The fitness levels, the choreographing. I just think, you know, it left a lot to be desired at times. I mean, Shawn Michaels was so good because the you know, I almost think that Shawn Michaels is a better wrestler than some of the people he probably lost to, because what he would do to his body when he was being thrown into the corner and things like that. And, you know, you think people like Mankind, who just had a screw loose, who would just like chuck themselves. I mean, I think he came from wrestling where they had barbed wire ropes and things like that. Those are the most impressive people because that they're convincing, aren't they? And what they're doing to their body. And I think that was probably the problem when I was watching it, is that there was good aspects, but there were also aspects of it that were just very clearly, you know, the foot went up in the air and they'd gone down a meter before they hit it and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, you need to be a little bit closer to that and sort of thing.
So we'll find out here that you're actually a deathmatch purist. Is that what we'll find out here? You need to get yourself watching more death matches.
I was always impressed with the Hell in a Cell. I think the Hell in a Cell game was amazing when they used to be chucking them off the top onto the tables and stuff. I think wrestling's brilliant when you go, well, obviously I'm being entertained here, but how have they done that? You know, when people are I mean, obviously they're not genuinely being hurt. I'm sure there's an element of pain in it, but when wrestling's at its best when it gets you thinking, I think. And one of my favorite wrestling matches was, I think it was a Hell in a Cell. It was the one that retired Shawn Michaels with Undertaker at WrestleMania. That was just
the end of an era.
Yeah, I've watched that one so many times, and that was two of the best. I think in the industry, who, you know, push their bodies to the absolute limit. So yeah.
Are you thinking of the one where Kane debuted by any chance? When he ripped the door off the cage. You thinking of that one?
No, you know where it was the match where Shawn Michaels had to retire. It was his last match.
All right, there was no cage involved in that one.
It wasn't.
No.
I thought there was a cage in that. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking about. But that was a great match anyway. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Kane and the Undertaker. They had some storylines when I was younger as well.
He's just gone in the Hall of Fame, Kane, this year.
Is he? Is he still at it?
Just about, but not really. He's a politician now. He's I forget what Nashville. Somewhere in Nashville, he's the mayor over there. So he still comes back from time to time dressed in his mask and whatnot. But he's now a politician, which is just a weird juxtaposition to see a wrestler doing something like that.
Yeah, I don't know who's actually left in it from the era that I used to watch, because Triple H has more or less stopped now, hasn't he, as well?
Yeah, Triple H's last match was a couple of years ago. You got people like Goldberg comes back from time to time. You've got Edge has just made a big return. He won the Royal Rumble this year.
Yeah, I saw
Sorry
that.
for the spoilers. Yeah. Christian's just, I don't know if you've heard of AEW. That's a completely new federation that's it's been spawned over the past couple of years. That's sort of taken on WWE, but not really, because obviously WWE's like Disney in the world of wrestling. So AEW sort of making their way, but not really at the same level. But people are taking them seriously, I guess. So not heard of AEW?
No. I used to have all the games on the PlayStation back in the day. I used to play them for hours and stuff. But yeah, there was so many, but I can't imagine any of them would be around now.
Yeah, Big Show has just gone to AEW. Sting's gone to AEW. There's a few of them that they're still kicking about. But that's the thing in wrestling now, is a big debate about the stars of yesteryear taking the spotlight from the stars of today. And the obviously the fans of this generation now getting properly annoyed by that, and I can see why. Because imagine if, like, in our youth, someone from the 70s was coming back to beat your favourite in the 90s, it would piss you off, wouldn't it? Yeah,
and then that's the thing that would be interesting when I re-engage to do this WrestleMania stuff, is that, you know, are the modern day stars as personable and intriguing and relatable to as all those ones back then, and how easily I can re-engage into the stories and the little things that go on, because yeah, things move on, don't they?
Yeah, it's certainly less cartoonish these days. I guess a gimmick you can, because back in the day in the Attitude Era, you could describe a gimmick in one sentence, but now they're a bit more real, they're a bit more human. There's a bit more, I dare say, nuance to characters these days. They're not just so on the nose like Stone Cold Steve Austin was a beer-drinking boss basher. Mankind was just a crazy guy in a mask. Like, you know what I mean? It's a bit more realism these days, I guess. So I guess, I don't know if that'll tickle your pickle or not.
No, we'll see how it goes, yeah.
So there we have it. What is your fifth and final offering? Because I know you're pushed for time today. I'll let you go.
I think I'm going to go just with the volume of pay-per-view. It's all. I don't know whether I could have dealt with it the way people deal with it now. It just seems to be relentless big events. When I was watching it, it was really WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and Royal Rumble. And then towards the end, they did start to have, maybe another 4, so it'd be 8 big events, and then it was SmackDown and Raw. But nowadays, I'd seem to see stuff being advertised all the time for pay-per-view. I mean, I don't even know if Survivor Series still happens. I never really understood what Survivor Series was at the time, to be honest with you. It was probably the one I watched the least. But there just seems to be so many pay-per-views.
Well, back when you were watching it was just a series of like 4-on-4, 5-on-5 tag team matches, and you'd have one survivor from each of those matches. But now it is just a pay-per-view where you have one pay-per-view happening every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 5, every 6 weeks. We've just had one now last weekend called Fastlane, and that because obviously we're building now towards WrestleMania, which is just 2 and a bit weeks away, as we're sat here today. And all the focus has been on this other pay-per-view that's been getting in the way of the WrestleMania stuff, and it's just been making everything a massive mess. So I completely agree with you. There's way too many pay-per-views these days. It just convolutes everything. There's just too much going. There's just too much wrestling content, full stop, Mark. It's going to be hard for you to get back in if you want to get back in properly, because you've got Raw on a Monday. You've got we've got one AEW show on a Tuesday, another AEW show on a Wednesday. You've got SmackDown on a Friday. You've got Impact on a Thursday. You've got the pay-per-views on a Sunday. You've got AEW pay-per-views when they happen. It's just there's too much wrestling to take in these days, I tell you.
That's the problem, isn't it? You get it in a lot of sports where it is relentless, and the hardcore people will just be obsessed with it because you have to be. But people who've got, haven't got that level of time, it is difficult. Yeah, you just have to read it on the internet.
Yep, YouTube is your friend, where there's little tiny clips of all the things that sort of matter. Just that's how I would keep up if it wasn't my full-time job. I've got to be honest with you. But Mark, there we have it. All the pay-per-views that can go down to hell because there is too many. What do you think these days? By the way, Hell in a Cell is not a sort of stipulation that is built to in a feud. So obviously, when Shawn Michaels and Undertaker were wrestling each other, that was sort of built to because that was as severe as the feud got. They had to settle things inside Hell in a Cell. These days, you've got to wait until October to have one. There's a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell.
All right, so it only happens in October.
So no matter what feud is going on in October, somehow, somewhere, it will build to a Hell in a Cell match because that's when the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view is. Your thoughts on that? Because I think it's a load of bollocks.
Yeah, they should have that more regular. I mean, do they still have the ladder matches and things like that?
Oh yeah, there's a big one for the NXT event coming up soon. Ladder matches are still happening. You got the Money in the Bank. Do you know what Money in the Bank is?
No.
It's a contract on a pole, basically, where you have to ascend the ladder to get the contract, then you get a shot at a world title. It's always a thrilling affair, that one, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones that they used to have. I mean, I like you say, I always like the Royal Rumble because it's over the top rope and you're out, and if you're really into it, you'll know most of the roster that's coming in, and always used to be interesting when you had like Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, the Macho Man, all in it as well. So, and they'd make sure there was a time when they were all in the ring as well. So yeah, I think the Royal Rumble was probably the one that it probably is the Royal Rumble that got me into wrestling, to be fair, and it's always the one that I used to look forward to. Although towards the end, you didn't. A lot of the big ones used to avoid it, to be fair.
Yeah, there'll always be a title match, wouldn't it, to take them out the match as well?
Yeah.
I tell you what, watch last year's the 2020 Men's Royal Rumble match. That'll rekindle your fire for professional wrestling. What a fantastic story where Drew McIntyre wins and he eliminates Brock Lesnar. It's an amazing moment, Mark, I tell you.
Is he still in it?
Yeah, he comes back from... He's on a hiatus at the moment. He hasn't appeared since last WrestleMania, so this time last year. But there's rumours he's coming back. And he will do, because he likes money, Brock. And they give him a lot.
Well, he was the one who broke the Undertaker's run, wasn't it?
Yeah, the streak at WrestleMania 30. Did you see that one?
I didn't. I mean, I don't know. I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on that. Do you think that should have happened, really? Or do you think they should have just let him...
Well, the story goes that Vince McMahon said, who else could possibly break the Undertaker's streak, so why not Brock Lesnar? I personally don't think that Brock Lesnar needed to break the streak. I would have rather someone like Roman Reigns at the time or someone up and coming would have been the guy to break the streak and become a star from there on out. But it didn't do anything for me personally. I don't think it should have ended. Plus, Undertaker's come back. I think that should have been Undertaker's retirement match when he lost the streak. He's come back and he's made a fool of himself a couple of times because it's after 30 years it's all caught up with him and his body's not what it used to be. And thankfully, just to bring things back to things you should watch, Mark, the Boneyard match from WrestleMania 36. It looks like being Undertaker's retirement match. He has this fight in a weird little barn/graveyard area thing in Florida during the pandemic. So it's a wonder they brought it off. They pulled it off, against AJ Styles. You know AJ Styles?
I've heard of the name, yeah.
He's the modern day Shawn Michaels, basically. And they have a match where AJ Styles gets buried alive and then somehow survives. But that's wrestling.
And he's AJ Styles still at it, is he?
Yeah, he's still at it now. He's in his early 40s as well, but he's still got it. He can still go. It hasn't sort of taken the effects on his body that we see with Undertaker at WrestleMania 33, where he has that match against Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns runs rings around him, and it's a sad sight to see when your childhood was the Undertaker.
Well, there was somebody. Wasn't there some Undertaker in Dubai or something like against somebody? It might have been Vince Shawn Michaels or something.
Goldberg,
and it got ridiculed, didn't it?
Because, there were two old men, basically, and they couldn't do the moves they used to do in their prime. And Undertaker nearly died.
Did he?
I say nearly died. He nearly got just spiked straight down on his head, which would have been disastrous, obviously, being the size he is and the age he is as well. It was horrible to see. But, if you like car crashes, Mark, watch that one.
Yeah, you get. That's the thing. You get too old, don't you? I was really sad when Shawn Michaels retired, but it's logical for what he put his body through. You're not going to keep doing that into your 50s.
I tell you what, it's going to ruin your perception of that retirement. He came back 8 years later for a tag team match. Was it in Australia? I think it was off the top of my head there. Shawn Michaels and Triple H against Undertaker and Kane. You're thinking, wow, this is in 2018, by the way. So you're thinking, wow, I
think this is the one I'm thinking about. There's probably not the Dubai one. This sounds, go on, carry on. I think this is
so they have this match. The Triple H tears his pec clean off the bone, just going over the top rope. Kane's mask fell off after Shawn Michaels did a moonsault to him, and it sort of kicked him in the head, and his mask just fell off. And you just think, it was a car crash from start to finish. So once again, if you like things that go wrong, watch that match.
I will do. I think I tried to watch it at the time, but it wasn't readily available. I think you needed like some sort of subscription or something. So it's probably on YouTube now.
Yeah, the network. Get the W network. Only $9.99 a month still for us until it gets taken away and put on some sort of... Because in America at the moment, it was just being put on Peacock, and it's not going very well so far. But we've got that to come over here. So maybe it'll be involved on BT Sport or something like that. If you've got BT Sport at home, it might be on there in the coming years. But Mark, I know you're pressed for time this morning. I thank you very much for your time. Just before we go, tell us more about this WrestleMania stream if you know anything about it so far.
Yeah, so I'm doing stuff with Paddy Power, which is obviously a big company over in Ireland and the UK, and I did Super Bowl in January, which was quite interesting. So they want me to do a few events. There's a lot going on for the Euros, but they were like, "Yeah, we want you to do WrestleMania." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." The whole point of it is me doing things that people wouldn't expect me to do, really. Yeah. So the Super Bowl was a good laugh. I enjoyed that, and wrestling, I have a bit of background. I just need to catch up on it. So that will be, but it's a 2-night affair, isn't it? Because I was like, I'm not doing 2 nights, and everyone's like, just do night 2.
I mean, I'll run you through some of the matches. Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre. Do anything for you?
Their names I recognise, but yeah, I'm gonna have to do my research, I think.
Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair.
Yeah, the women's wrestling to me is going to be an eye opener, because I'm like, to me, it was a novelty when I was watching it, whereas now a lot of people give it, say it's fantastic.
It's just like the men's. It's not what it was in the 90s, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's just like the men's now. New Day versus Omos and AJ Styles. You know who Omos is?
No.
He's about 8 foot tall. He's fantastic. Asuka versus Rhea Ripley.
No, I don't know.
You don't know anybody, do you?
AJ Styles, you just mentioned him to me, so yeah.
Roman Reigns versus Edge. You know Edge, but Roman Reigns is fantastic.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns.
So who's the champ at the moment? What's the big?
So you've got 2 brands now. You've got Raw and SmackDown. You've got a champion of Raw and a champion of SmackDown. The champion of SmackDown is Roman Reigns, who is a fantastic bastard. You'll hate him, but in the best possible way. Then the champion of Raw is Bobby Lashley, who is the WWE champion. So the WWE Championship is on Raw. Universal Championship, which is blue and horrible, that's on SmackDown.
Okay.
Right, I'll try and think. The Miz, The Miz might be a name, from back in the day.
Yeah, I know that name. Yeah.
Yeah, he's taking on Bad Bunny, that guy who won a Grammy.
Right.
They're not wrestlers, so you'll hate that one. I'm trying to think what else is on there. Hulk Hogan's hosting the affair, by the way, with Titus O'Neil. So at least you get to see Hulk Hogan as a blast from the past.
And is this the one where they've got the Randy Orton thing going as well?
And yeah, and then the Randy Orton will be taking on the evil undead murder clown who was burnt to a crisp in some sort of weird spooky matchup. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that one when it actually happens, because I watch wrestling all the time and I've got no idea what's coming with that one.
Will that be night 1 or 2?
Not sure yet, I don't think. It's they're all getting just revealed now, week by week. So we'll find out in the coming weeks what happens. But they split it down the middle, so night 1's main event will be one world title, and then night 2's main event will be the other world title. So they sort of split it evenly to get fans in the arena both nights. So yeah, we'll see what you think about that. So Mark, before you go, where can we find you? In all the places we can find you.
Well, I do the United stand if you're a Man United fan, and I do Mark Goldbridge. That's football for general stuff as well. But I do lots of other things as well. But that's probably the two main things. I do too much at the moment, to be fair. Twitch, my own cooking thing and vlog channel. So yeah.
Biscoff brownies on Cooking with Goldbridge has got to happen.
That sounds good, actually.
Make it
does
happen.
Sound nice.
Mark, thank you very much for your time. I'll let you go and stream now. I've taken up too much of your time this morning speaking about professional wrestling, but thank you so much for joining us today. That's it for Straight to Hell this time. We'll see you on the next one.